In Quickbid, markups allow you to adjust your pricing based on market conditions, premium options, and perceived value. Rather than just covering your costs, markups help you capture what the market will actually pay for different cabinet options and configurations. Quickbid organizes markups into 4 categories. Understanding these categories is essential before working with specific markup settings. Order type markup applies a base markup multiplier to the entire order based on its classification. For example, a standard order typically has no markup applied. However, a work order that isn't covered by warranty might have a 50% markup to account for the additional overhead. A work order covered by warranty would have a 0 markup since the cost is already covered. You might also have a door sample order type with a small 5% markup to cover handling costs. You can create and manage your order types in the admin settings area. Cabinet group markups apply to door, drawer, and cabinet-specific options. These markups affect the overall price of cabinet groups that use those components. There are 8 different cabinet group markup types available, including markups for doors, door panels, door grain, door edge, drawer boxes, drawer slides, and submodel variations. Item markups apply to individual items such as custom hoods, crown molding, end panels, and countertops. Each item can have its own independent markup percentage. There are 2 item markup types, one for the item itself and one for item submodel variations. Shared markups are unique because they apply to both cabinet groups and items that use the marked up component. One markup setting affects everything using that material or finish. There are 4 shared markup types: material, finish, top coat, and brushing. Understanding why Quickbid applies markups to the overall cabinet group price rather than to individual component costs is critical for effective pricing strategy. Many pricing systems apply a simple markup to each component's cost. This approach has a fundamental flaw. It ignores market perception and the actual value customers place on premium options. Consider this example. You're quoting a kitchen with a total cabinet price of $15,000. The cabinets currently have standard maple drawer boxes. The customer asks about upgrading to walnut dovetail drawer boxes. The actual cost difference for walnut is only about $200 more in material. The labor is identical. If you tell your customer it's only $200 more for walnut, you might close the sale, but you're leaving money on the table. Why? Because price is about perception, not just cost. Customers seeking walnut dovetail drawer boxes are looking for a premium product. They expect to pay more, often significantly more, for that upgrade. If you only charge $200 extra, you're pricing based on your costs rather than the market's perceived value. Quickbid solves this by applying drawer box markups to the overall cabinet group price, not just the cost of the drawer boxes themselves. Let's walk through the math with a hypothetical example. A kitchen has cabinets totaling $15,000 before markup. You know from experience that kitchens with walnut dovetail drawer boxes can sell for at least $1,500 more than the standard maple. Let's say the walnut drawer box costs $500 including labor and materials. A 10% markup on $500 equals $50 extra. This is insignificant and doesn't reflect the premium customers are willing to pay. With the Quickbid approach, the base price increases from $15,000 to $15,200 because walnut materials cost $200 more than maple. Then a 10% markup on walnut drawer boxes is applied to the entire cabinet group price. This gives you $16,720. This increase reflects what the market will actually pay for a premium walnut drawer box kitchen. This is why Quickbid assigns markups to the overall cost of the cabinet group, not to the individual component costs. Your pricing should capture market value, not just cover costs. Now that you understand why markups work this way, let's look at how Quickbid calculates them. Quickbid first adds up your costs, material, labor, and hardware, then multiplies by the profit overhead factor to get the base price. Markups are applied after this calculation. Here's an example. Let's say all cabinet groups in a kitchen, including the perimeter bases, island, uppers, and tall pantry cabinets, have a combined price before markup of $39,440. The drawer box option has a markup of 1.5%, and the door option has a markup of 3%. Quickbid sums these together. The final price becomes $41,215. The 4.5% markup adds $1,775 in additional revenue to this kitchen. Let me show you this with a real order. In my Gleave order, I have a kitchen with a perimeter section containing 2 cabinet groups. The section is configured with a dovetail maple drawer box, and I've applied a 2% markup to that drawer box type. Here's what the cabinet groups show with the 2% markup applied. The bases cost $10,379.09, and the uppers cost $5,452.60. To understand the markup impact, let's calculate what these prices would be without the 2% markup by dividing by 1.02. The 2% drawer box markup adds approximately $204 to the bases and $107 to the uppers, a total of about $310 in additional revenue just from that one markup on this section alone. Now let's look at an example with an item. In my items list, I have a custom range hood called Hood 1 with a labor cost of $285.28. In my market, I know I can sell a custom hood for several $1,000s. We can use a markup to ensure our price reflects this market value. I'm going to add this hood to my order. With the markup set to 0%, the base price for this hood is $1,064.51. But I know this hood could sell for around $2,500 as my target, so I need to add a markup. This number may be more based on the size of the hood or the material, but this is my target range. To determine the markup, I use this equation. Target price divided by base price is equal to my markup multiplier. I'm going to change the markup from 0% to 135%. Now, making this change does not automatically change the price in this order. I have to update it. The price is now around my target range at around $2,500. This number isn't set in stone. It will fluctuate based on the base cost for different materials or different dimensions. But this is right around the area I want my product to be at. Something to keep in mind is this item markup only affects Hood 1. It doesn't affect the other hoods or moldings. Each markup in items is independent. Another thing to keep in mind is changes made in the admin section don't automatically affect existing orders. Prices only update when you manually refresh or update the order. However, this also means that if you're working on an order and another team member changes a markup setting, you might see an unexpected price change when you update. Good team communication helps you avoid surprises like this. We're also considering adding a feature that would alert you to recent admin changes before you update an order, so you'll know what to expect. These examples illustrate an important principle. Markups are component specific. They all work the same way, taking the base price and multiplying by the markup percentage, but they only affect their assigned components. A drawer box markup only affects cabinet groups using that drawer box type. A door markup only affects cabinet groups using that door style. An item markup only affects that specific item. A finish or material markup, these are shared markups, affect both cabinet groups and items using that finish or material. Let me show you how a shared markup works. In my Gleave order, the perimeter section uses paint and pinstripe glaze as its finish. I'm going to add a 1% markup to this finish and show you how it affects both cabinet groups and items. Click Admin, then click Finish. Find Paint and Pinstripe Glaze. Click Edit. Now back in cabinet groups, I'm going to update this cabinet group for the bases and see how the price changes. It went up to $10,480.85. I'm going to do the same with the other cabinet group. It's now $5,506.06. If I go into my items, now I'm going to update my hood and see how this finish markup changes things. And it goes up to $2,512.24. The same 1% finish markup increased both the cabinet groups and the hood because they all used the paint and pinstripe glaze finish. To see exactly how much the finish markup is contributing, click Management and then Order Navigation and expand the Shared Markup section. The finish markup shows the cabinet groups has an added cost of $656.90 and the items $10.65. Quickbid lets you add markups to many different components. Let me show you each location in the admin area. Click Drawer Boxes. You'll see all your drawer box options listed. Click on drawer box type, such as Dovetail Maple, to expand its details. You can see we have a 2% markup here. I can change that markup by clicking Edit, and I can bring it back down. Click on the door section. You'll see tabs at the top for doors, door submodels, door panels, door edge, and door grain. Each has its own markup options. If I want to add a markup to my shaker door, I could do so by clicking this edit button here. I'm not going to do that, I'm going to leave it as it is. But the same is true for my door submodels. I can edit each of them and give them a unique markup. Door panels. I have a 1% markup on my flat panel here. If I want to change that back down to 0, I can do so. You can add markups to the different edge options and the different grain directions. Sometimes you need to give a customer a discount or disable a markup for a specific order. To modify markups for an order, click Management in the top navigation. The Order Type and Base Markup section shows the current order type, such as Standard, and whether the markup multiplier is enabled. You can modify order types in the Settings section. To access the settings, you go into Admin, and click on Settings. You can change the markup settings for these different order types. For example, work orders might have a different markup or no markup at all if covered by warranty. The Cabinet Group Markups section expands to show all available cabinet markup types and their current values for this order. Right now we have a markup on the drawer box, but nothing else has a markup on it. The Item Markups section shows markups for individual items like hoods and accessories. This $1,400 right here is for the hood that we added that 135% markup to specifically. And if I wanted to, I could give a customer a discount, knowing that's just profit and perceived value. I could come here and turn it off if I needed to. If I click Save Changes, that would revert back. I'm not going to do that, so I'm going to just leave it as it is. The Shared Markup section shows markups that apply to both category groups and items. This section also displays exactly how much each markup is contributing, broken down by category groups and items. And for example, you can see here that our finish markup added a markup to the category groups of about $650, to our items just $11. Pricing cabinets accurately can be complicated. You might have markups on drawer boxes, doors, door grain, finishes, materials, and items, and they all stack. The computer can keep it all straight, but sometimes the total markup can inadvertently price your cabinets too high for certain orders or customers. That's why Quickbid gives you the ability to toggle markups on or off for each order. Maybe you want to give a long-time customer a break on the finish markup, or perhaps you're competing for a price-sensitive job and need to disable some markups temporarily. To toggle markups, click Edit Settings on the Order Management page. You can turn any markup on or off for this specific order without changing your default admin settings. Click Save Changes when done. I'm going to show an example of turning off the item markup and the finish markup. We'll go back. You'll see that this number will change, but then we'll go back into the room section and see that the numbers will be different. The price dropped to $38,500. If we go back into the room section, it's not reflecting currently, but if we refresh this page, it will show that these markups were turned off and the price did drop. Same is true for the items. This hood now is back to this base price of $1,064. To recap, markups give you granular control over pricing. There are 4 main types of markups: order type markups, category group markups, item markups, and shared markups. Markups apply to the overall cabinet group price, not individual component costs. This captures market value rather than just covering costs. The base price is calculated by taking the material, labor, and hardware costs and multiplying by the profit overhead factor. Then the markups are added to that base price. Markups stack together, so a 2% markup on the drawer box and a 1% markup on the finish will make a 3% markup total for the cabinet group. You can view the exact dollar amounts each markup is adding in your order, and you can toggle these on or off if you need to.